course, amazing course for you. But I just wanted to share something before I go away on how you communicate with each other and communicate with Anandis. The whole idea about Wellbeing at Home is that we've created this community and that people can support each other as well throughout this community. And the courses are great because it's like a smaller group of people who come together and can communicate with each other. I know, Helen, you've seen this on the emotional detox course, right, where there's messages being sent throughout the group there, and supporting each other there. But I just wanted to share with you the best way to do that, and it's also a way for you to communicate with Anandi, also with me if you need me for anything. It's just an easy way to kind of get across. So I'm just going to share my screen. Let's bring it up first, sorry. And yeah, let me share my screen. And then I will show you how to do that. So you've all logged on to the Wellbeing at Home platform, right? Onto the website, and you go onto like the forum area, and there you're going to find groups. Okay, I don't know if you've all been aware or seen this area called groups. So if you click on this groups thing here, you'll see all these different groups. But the one that you're interested in really here is Improve Your Sleep course, which is I have to make it a private. I'm going to make it a private when I come off. So only people who've purchased the course can get into this and view what's in there. But what I've done, I've actually added you all to this. So you're automatically members of this group. Okay. Here you are, members here. So you can see some of you got photos, others haven't. But if you want to put a photo up, it's up to you. You can just go into your profile and do that. And then a really great way to communicate with each other on this is just to share something with your group, and that kind of just posts it on the timeline. So if I say hello and welcome to the course here, and I just post update, you're all going to see that when you log on here. Now, you're not notified when this is on there, so you'd need to go and have a look periodically. But if you want to send a specific message, so if you want to send a message to anyone in the group or to Anandi or to me, you see this send group message? Can you see that there? You can type your message and then it goes to the whole group, and that way you're notified. You get an email basically saying someone sent you a message, and then you know to go and look. Or if you want to just send a private message to Anandi or anyone else, look, you can just pick on this here who you want to send a message to. And for example, if I want to send a message to Anandi, and then I would just type my message and send message. I won't do that because I won't clog up her inbox any more than I have to.
Can I put files on there, like PDFs on there?
Yeah, you can. You can share things on here. So I'll show you.
I'll have a PDF.
We go back to the feed. Yeah, you see this feed. So it's a really good central source to put stuff on, and that way people can go back in and find it. So here on the feed, you see here. When you go to start typing, you can put an image, you can put a document. Yeah. Oh, great. And you can put a little smiley face too.
Okay.
All kinds of applause, stars, you name it. So it's all there. So is that okay for everyone? Yeah, just so that you know that's a good, and it's a good way, it's a nice way to connect with each other and support each other, because I'm sure a lot of you are going to have similar issues as well. So on that note, I am going to now make you host.
Okay.
And then I'm going to disappear.
Great.
And so also the other thing is we are recording these, and then they're going to be put on a hidden YouTube link, which we'll share with you. If you want to watch them back or anything else, you'll have them forever, but they won't be kind of visible out there. So don't worry if you're saying anything private or anything and you don't want it shared. No one's going to see it except for who's in this group. So rest assured on that. So that's all good. Now I have to work out how to make it. I will do. No, I can do it. I was looking for your little things. Okay, I'm going to make host. Yes.
Great.
Your host now. So
okay.
Enjoy your first week, and hope to see some of you on Saturday. And bye.
Yeah. Thank you, Stella. Thanks
Bye.
so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a bit of a grounding exercise, so we can all just come into the space, get out of the analytical head, and just come down into the heart space. So if you would just like to just close your eyes, and if you're sitting up straight, and bring the left hand onto the heart space and the right hand on top of the left hand, and just bring all of your awareness into your hands, and just watch, notice and feel maybe what happens with the breath, how you feel when you bring your awareness into your hands. You might notice that the breath lengthens slightly, the mind quietens. So just keep your awareness in your hands and just watch the breath and notice the movement of the body underneath your hands. And take a few long, deep breaths. And with the out breath, just feel like you're just letting go of any tension of the day. And just notice with the in breath, just bringing in the fresh and new. And just nourishing the mind. I'm just going to read a short poem just to open. So just keep your eyes closed, keep your awareness in your hands, and just listen. It only takes a reminder to breathe, a moment to be still, and just like that, something in me settles, softens, makes space for imperfection. The harsh voice of judgment drops to a whisper, and I remember again that life isn't a relay race. We will all cross the finish line, that waking up to life is what we were born for. As many times as I forget, catch myself charging forward without even knowing where I'm going, that many times I can make the choice to stop, breathe, be, and walk slowly into the mystery. Just take a couple more deep breaths. And then just open your eyes. And I'm just going to share my screen. So can you see the screen? Okay, great. I'm going to just also bring the chat box up so that I can keep an eye on that. So can I ask who has done the quiz? Has anyone done the quiz? Did anyone do the quiz? Yeah?
Yes.
No? Great. Okay, good.
Had a look at it, but I been going through menopause, and I've just gone on to HRT, so I didn't know with quite a lot of the questions how to answer them just yet because I'm kind of going through a bit of a change. So, but what I'm going to do is I thought, well, I'd let you know that that's what's happened, and then just if you can give me some advice as to how best to tackle it, and I'll give it a go.
Yeah, the thing to do is just to tick whatever comes to mind first and not think about it too much. Obviously, you know, we all have changes. You know, when you go through the menopause, variable sleepers, for example, they are the ones that will often suffer more from hot flushes, just as an example. So a sensitive sleeper might not so much, but you know, they rarely feel hot. but variable sleepers often do feel the heat. So that's just a little bit of a pointer, just in case.
Okay.
If you get A and B, 7 of each, yes, that's okay, because it's an indication. So some people are a combination. You usually are a combination of one predominant and then one subtype. So it just gives you an idea. So if you were the same for A and B, download both of them. And then, yeah, 5, 6, 5. Okay, so if you're that's interesting. 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6. I would go back and have another go and see what you come up with, because sometimes you normally have one principal type with a subtype. Sometimes we can be like what they call, if you want to call the Ayurvedic word, tridoshic, but there's not so many tridoshic people. But we're gonna come to the sleep types. So it's just good to know that some of you have taken it. So if you haven't done the quiz, do so. But it will become a bit clearer as we go through the course. So let's move on. So what we're going to cover today, we're just going to cover why we actually need to sleep well. And I'm sure some of you go, well, I do know that, but you know, it will be interesting. Some of the signs that you may be experiencing that you might not know about. What constitutes good sleep, you know, in terms of brain health, you know, cycles and things like that. And just the principles of sleepology and sleep types, how it all kind of fits together. And then the next time we will look at the mind principle, which is the middle principle. That's all about resilience. That's all about managing the nervous system. And then it will cover in the last session circadian rhythm, what that means, how to get that back into balance. We'll look at how it affects the hormones. Well, you know, we can touch on that throughout the program, but it does affect the hormones when you're going through menopause. And a little bit about the rejuvenate principle, which is basically nourishment for the mind, body and the soul, and how it all fits together and why you need to do things in a certain order. So hopefully by the end you'll understand more about your sleep type, you know, what things need to be done in what order, and have some tasks to do, and hopefully those things will make a difference. And then after, there's always more things that you can do. You know, we can talk some more, you know, I can talk to you individually. You know, this is like a starting point of what's your sleep type, what does sleepology mean, and why do we do things in that order, so you understand that. And then you've got the tips. You know, we'll be talking on the forum, you can ask questions, and it's a good place to start, so have a clear idea what you're aiming for. You know, some of you will take the tips and you'll get a lot out of it, and others may need a bit more help from me. So just keep the questions coming, you know, we'll interact in between, and then see how we go. And then I'll be posting a few things on the forum. So like at the end of the session today, there'll be a little PDF for you, like a homework sheet, and any other resources that come to mind during the session, or anything else that you ask for, then I can sort of get some resources and put them on the forum for you. Okay, how's that sound? Is that all right? Good. Okay. So sleep, there isn't one single organ of the body that doesn't benefit from a great night's sleep. And I'm sure you all know, if you're not sleeping very well, when you're not sleeping very well, you feel crap, you look crap, and you basically perform crap. So can you all relate to that? Which one of you, or who of you ladies are not sleeping very well? Are you all not sleeping very well?
I'm not.
Okay. Who else?
I haven't been until the past couple of nights have been okay.
Okay.
I don't sleep generally without medication, so yeah.
Okay, right, yeah, all right. Okay, so keep putting questions into the chat as well, but I will be asking questions throughout. So don't be shy of putting questions in the chat, and we will address them. So obviously, you know, we all know that when you sleep well, you know, you feel great, you know, your skin looks different. There's research out there about skin health and skin aging. You know, when they did a project with Jodie Kidd, she's a supermodel, and they restricted her sleep from 8 hours to 5 or something for a week. And they put her skin under one of those, you know, things that show you where the sun damage is. And her skin was grayer. The black sort of aging spots were more prominent. So, you know, I know, because I personally, I don't know if anyone has read anything about me on my website, but I'll just give you a little bit of an overview of my history. Basically, when I was 27, I started suffering from chronic insomnia, and it went on for about 10, 12, 13, 14 years, where I had no sleep, 1 hour, 2 hours, then I'd crash. And I was ill throughout that. You know, I had the most terrible digestive issues. I had ulcers coming in my mouth. I had a face full of acne rosacea. I was sort of on the verge of a nervous breakdown, you know. So the reason that I do what I do is because I understand what it feels like to not sleep very well. And I know that it's also possible to manage a sleep issue without having the medication. And what often happens is, you know, you get put on medication quite early. You know, of course, medication has its place, but it's unfortunately often the first port of call. And then you get stuck on it, and then no one reviews what you're taking. And then it's before you know who you are, it's 5 years, 10 years or whatever. So, you know, it's good to start looking at the root cause before you really start going on the drugs. So I'll be coming to that anyway. Obviously, the creativity levels, you know, your productivity. One of the things I really felt when I wasn't sleeping very well, it's like I had no energy. I had to keep saying no to things. I felt resentful of actually giving anybody any energy because I didn't have any for myself. And it felt like I just didn't have anything to give. I just was wrung out the whole time. And I used to sort of say no to things because I just didn't have the energy. I didn't feel like I wanted to socialize. So, you know, it's horrible. And I just want you to know that I understand what it's like. And I want my message to get out there. You can resolve sleep issues without medication. It takes time because natural healing is not like taking a pill. You know, the thing with medication is you can pop a pill and you can carry on doing the thing that created the problem in the first place. And unfortunately, you're masking the sleep issue, which is basically a message to say, hey, you know, I need help. You know, your body, your mind needs help, but you're just ignoring and you're popping a pill, which is making you go unconscious, getting respite from the world, but you're not really resolving the problem. And that's the issue with medication, is that it masks things and then you keep pushing through and then you end up with perhaps something a bit more serious. Let's have a look at the power of sleep. So the brain is very much awake when you're asleep. There's a series of distinct cycles that you go through that restore and refresh the brain and the mind. So even a minimal amount of sleep loss will affect the mood and your energy and your ability basically to handle stress. We really do need our sleep if we're going to be, you know, at our best, the best version of ourselves. And it's very much a necessity and it's not a luxury. I often say that sleep is like, obviously breath, you've got to be breathing. If you're not breathing, you're dead. Breath, water, then sleep, and then food, in that order. And I think that with all the nutrition, you know, the health shops, you know, I'm sure you've been in health shops. How many shelves of stuff is there available to us these days? We've got more vitamins and minerals and powders and protein powders and teas and God knows what available to us now. Why are we still not very well? Why aren't we still sleeping? Something is not right. So, you know, and I think that we're trying to, I think the Dalai Lama said something like, you know, we kind of like kill ourselves nearly trying to make money, and then we have to spend all our money trying to get well. You know, we just push through without prioritizing. You know, no vitamins or things is going to do the thing if you're not actually doing the right things at the right time and not running uphill against nature, which is what this is really all about. It's not running uphill against nature. Sleep is not really where your brain is like shut off. You know, while you're rest, it's overseeing a whole range of biological maintenance that keeps you running in tip-top condition. You know, without enough sleep, your brain doesn't have enough time to do everything it needs. And it also needs energy, by the way, which I'll cover, you know, in another session. That's for session 3. The glymphatic system, I don't know if anyone has ever heard of that, but basically it's something they've recently discovered. I'm sure you've all heard of the lymphatic system, you know, which is a thing that goes around your body, picking up all the toxicity, and it dumps it and it gets rid of it. The brain has something quite similar. Never heard of lymphatics, no. It's something that's been quite recently discovered, and it's a system in your brain that basically it gets rid of all the waste in your brain. You know, the proteins and all the sort of like stuff that's come from, you know, the workings of the brain. And it also actually delivers nutrients to the brain. So it's a whole system and network that clears the brain. I often liken it to if you've got an office dustbin, you know, and you're chucking stuff in the bin all day long. And then at night, the angels come and they empty the bin. And in the morning, you've got a whole new empty space to fill. And it's a bit like that for the brain. You know, the brain needs cleansing to make space for the next day. If you've slept well, you'll feel clear-headed. And if you haven't slept well, which I know, you know, some of you are not sleeping very well, you'll have a foggy head. You won't be able to think straight. So, you know, all this sort of toxic waste and these proteins that build up need to be cleared. And that's why your brain needs energy and it needs time for all that work to be done while you're sleeping. Does that make sense, girls? Does that make sense? Glymphatics? Yeah?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Right. Okay. How many hours of sleep do we need? So this is a really good question. I get asked it all the time. There are people in the population of the world, about 3 to 4%, who can function on 4 hours of sleep. That's 3 to 4% of the whole population in the world. It's something in their DNA that allows them to survive on that. Their brain is perfectly healthy, everything's perfectly okay on 4 hours sleep. 3 to 4% of the population. The rest of us mere mortals, we need between 7 and 8 hours, really. You know, if you read all the neuroscience, they will say, you know, that you need 7 to 8 hours. There are people out there that go, 5 hours, or people survive on 5 hours. I don't really buy it. 5 hours is 5 to 6 hours is not really enough. 5 hours certainly is not enough. 7 to 8 hours is good, and that's where you'd be functioning at your best. Now, what happens? Has anybody heard of sleep pressure? Does sleep pressure mean anything to you? Anyone ever heard of sleep pressure?
No.
No?
No.
There's 2 things that happen in order for you to sleep. Well, there's a number of things that happen actually, but 2 principal systems. There's the circadian rhythm, which is your sleep hormone melatonin. Melatonin is the thing that prepares your body for sleep. Melatonin is light sensitive. When the sun goes down, melatonin rises, and melatonin is there to tell your body, okay, I need you to quieten down. I need the heart rate to go down. I need the body temperature to go down. I need the digestive fire to go down. I need everything to quieten down so that you can sleep. And if you're running uphill against nature, you're eating late at night, you're creating heat in the body, and the body's going, hang on a minute, I need to be going to sleep. And you just put food in, and now my temperature has to go up in order to digest food. And if you want to go into a deep sleep, and by the way, you get most of your deep sleep early on in the night, you won't be able to do that because you're producing heat and the body temperature needs to drop in order for you to go into a deep sleep. Melatonin is trying to do that work for you. And often what happens, you know, we're suppressing melatonin with blue light and video screens and our laptops and phones. So the body wants to produce melatonin, but hey, it can't because we're suppressing it because of the light. And then we're doing things like eating the wrong things, eating too late, or whatever it is that we're doing. And we're running uphill against nature. I always use that expression. And the body's trying to do something and we're getting in its way for doing it. That's one thing. And the other thing is sleep pressure. And there's a hormone called adenosine. Adenosine is the thing that makes you feel like, oh my God, I've got to go to sleep. You know, sometimes you get to the point where if you close your eyes, you'd almost sleep standing up. And that's adenosine. Adenosine is something that builds up through the day. When you get up in the morning, if you slept well, you've digested and metabolized the adenosine when you're sleeping. And then it starts getting produced again during the day. So by the end of the day, you're feeling tired again. And that's the adenosine. Adenosine is affected by stress. It's affected by coffee. Coffee, by the way, you know, suppresses your adenosine. And if you're drinking coffee, it takes about 5 hours to process 50% of the coffee. If you're having coffee at lunchtime and by 5 p.m. you've only metabolized half of your coffee, your adenosine levels are still going to be suppressed by 8 o'clock in the evening because you're still trying to metabolize the coffee. Decaffeinated coffee, by the way, has still got between 15 and 30% caffeine in it. And I would say don't bother with decaffeinated because it's processed. They've done some weird chemical process to take the caffeine out. If you must have coffee, have one at 8 a.m. in the morning, have organic, nice coffee, and don't have another one during the day. So melatonin and adenosine are those two things. And you can't, you know, people often say about, well, you know, can I recuperate sleep? Can I sleep in at the weekend? Your body needs rhythm. And, you know, you've got to, my Guruji often used to say, you've got to look after yourself because if you think of yourself as an apartment, then you pay a rent for the apartment. If you mess up the apartment, then you're going to have to pay a higher rent for the apartment. And if you keep messing up the apartment, you might even get kicked out. You know, you have to, you know, do the things, be in alignment with nature, look after yourself so that this apartment, you know, you can live in this apartment, you know, happily and comfortably. So just the sleep cycles, having a look at the sleep cycles. Some people, has anyone of you ladies got a sleep tracker? Does anyone ever?
Yeah.
Is it a Fitbit?
Yeah.
Anyone else got a Fitbit or an Aura ring or anything?
No.
No? Okay. I use, I'm going to have just a drop of water. I use a Aura ring It's a ring, and it tracks sleep cycles. If on your Fitbit, have you got, does it track the heart rate variability and breath rate, resting heart rate, or is it just the sleep cycles?
It's got the resting heart rate and the sleep cycles. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so one of the things I often, well, I recommend people get a tracker actually when I work with them, because it helps you understand the things that you're doing and what effect it has on your sleep. You know, they're not completely 100%, but they give you a good indication. And the thing you want to look out for is how much deep sleep and how much REM sleep and how much light sleep. Now, if you think in terms of REM sleep, you need about 20% of the whole of the night, because some people say, oh, I only get 18% REM, it's terrible. No, 20% is about average for REM sleep. I'll tell you what that is in a minute. And 12% for deep sleep, and the rest is light sleep. Now, if you look at the chart, you'll see this is like a sleep architecture, and you go through a number of cycle. Aura ring, exactly, the Aura ring, I recommend, Jane. Yeah, it's OURA, by the way. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we do the next session, about what to look for and heart rate variability and everything. But anyway, you know, the sleep cycles, it's good to have a good handle on how much you need, what you're getting, when you're getting it, and what affects that. Going back to the circadian rhythm and, you know, eating at the wrong time and things, and body temperature and the melatonin. The melatonin is telling your heart rate to slow down, because you need to get your deep sleep in early. For example, between about 11 p.m. and about 2:30, something like that, you'll be getting a lot more of your deep sleep then. But if your body temperature is not gone down and your heart rate has not gone down, it's quite likely that you won't get as much good quality deep sleep, because your heart rate needs to drop, your body weight needs to, your body temperature needs to drop. And if you're doing things that are affecting that, then that is going to mean that you're going to get less quality. Now, it's a good idea to track, because then you can see if you had a meal late in the evening, you had a glass of wine at 9 p.m. or something, you can see it on the stats and start to understand what affects you and your sleep cycle. So deep sleep is where you're physically nourishing, you're cleansing, you're, you know, your body is actually rejuvenating, you know, the growth hormone and all that stuff, you know, to rest your body and repair your body, your physical body. And deep sleep does actually pay, there is a connection obviously with memory, you know, it's all connected. The REM sleep is very much about, you know, cleansing the things that have been going on during the day, you know, so you need the REM sleep to cleanse the brain, to clear the brain and the memories. So obviously the brain, all the memories and all the stuff that's gone in needs the stuff that needs to go into the storage, and then stuff that needs to be just let go of. So the next day when you wake up, you have a clear head. So, oh, I've got a thing on my ant on my what's it board. So the signs of sleep deprivation, I'm sure that you know them, but we're just going to quickly go over them. So relying on the snooze button. One thing I wanted to say about the snooze button is that when you keep on pressing snooze button, snooze button, snooze button, it's quite likely that you haven't had enough sleep. But it's not good to keep pressing the snooze button, because if you keep going down into a sleep, so you go into another sleep cycle, then you go into a deeper sleep, and the snooze button keeps going off, it's going to just pull you out. So it's not good for your nervous system. And also you end up in this sleep inertia. It's called sleep inertia. and you end up feeling groggy for hours because you've been drawn out of a deeper sleep. Whereas when you're in a rhythm, your body is already waking up probably about the time of the alarm, even just before the alarm. You know, when I'm in a good rhythm, I usually wake up just before the alarm. So if you're not in a good rhythm and, you know, 1 minute you're going to bed at, you know, 9:30, then you're going to bed at 11:30, and then you're waking up at 6 one day and 8 another day, your body doesn't know what it's doing, and you may well be experiencing sleep inertia every single day because your body just like, ugh, you know, you're waking up in the middle of a cycle. So relying on the snooze button, having difficulty get up in the morning and feeling drowsy during the day, feeling like you can't get through the day without a nap, you know, these are all signs of sleep deprivation. Not to mention things like reduced immunity, and, you know, problems just become, you know, molehills become mountains, you know, when you're not, I know when I've experienced that, you just can't actually get your head around things. Poor concentration, all those things. And the other thing is, just touching briefly, is weight gain. You know, you know, it wasn't a thing for me. I actually lost weight. But if you're prone to putting on weight, then it's quite likely that lack of sleep will affect your weight, because there's two hormones. You have leptin and ghrelin. Ghrelin is the hormone that goes, go eat, and leptin is the one that tells you not to eat, or tells you that you're full. And of course, when you're sleep deprived, if anyone out there, you girls have noticed, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, all I wanted to do when I didn't sleep was I wanted to eat sugar and carbohydrates. Does anyone experience that when you're tired, or you just want to have sugars and cakes and chocolates?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the ghrelin, because you're so tired. You know, you need the short-term energy, so you're just going for those quick fixes because you're so tired. This is a very unfortunate quote. I've ever heard of that. Warren Zevon, you know, a songwriter. You know, it's not good. You do need your sleep. You know, they've done research on, you know, rats and stop them from sleeping, and it's you know, it's been proven. You know, if you read the neuroscience and all that, you do need your sleep. So, you know, you've got to make sleep a priority. Causes of insomnia, you know, most causes of insomnia or sleep deprivation or disturbance, one of the biggest causes is stress. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's always work stress. It can be emotional stress. It can be, you know, when something's bubbling under the surface and you think, I need to make a decision about something that's important or emotional or difficult. Those things create stress. And, you know, that sort of thing can trigger trigger insomnia, and then it just keeps on going on and on and on, and you can't seem to break the cycle. That often happens. You know, as I was saying about the rhythm, you know, running uphill against nature, disharmony, the desynchronization or the desynchrony of the circadian rhythm, because, you know, you're doing things at the wrong time for the wrong type or whatever it is. And of course, not actually getting enough rest. We're going to be covering that in the next session about the nervous system and resilience and how to build resilience. Because if you don't have the resilience and you're completely frazzled, therein lies a problem. Some people say, well, I don't understand, I can't sleep, but I'm absolutely exhausted. And that often is the problem, because you don't have enough energy to keep you in a deep sleep. People say, well, what do you mean I need energy to sleep? You need energy to go to sleep. Your brain needs the food and the energy in order to do all that work. Your brain is really busy when you're sleeping. It can't possibly do all that stuff when you are awake. Therefore, it needs to be doing it while you're asleep. There's, you know, unfortunately, you know, 10 million sleep prescriptions going out every single year. Does that figure surprise you, ladies? 10 million sleep prescriptions every single year. Is that a surprise to anyone?
Yeah, very surprising.
Yeah. There's a lot, and that's, and I truly believe, if only doctors would spend a bit more time finding out what the problem is, there probably wouldn't be so many sleep prescriptions. And just as an aside, I offer melatonin testing. And I often get a situation, well, one client, I'll just tell you about this client in particular. She came to me and she'd been on sleep medication for ages, just kept on having it. It was like years, actually, she's on sleep medication. And I said, well, let's do a melatonin test to see when you're producing melatonin. She was producing melatonin at, I think it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something, instead of, 10 o'clock at night, as an example. Now, if they'd have done that with her, they would have seen that was her problem, and they would have worked at correcting the circadian rhythm and got her more into balance. Instead of that, she got put on sleeping pills, then antidepressants, and on it goes. And that's the thing that makes my blood boil about it. I'm not saying medication, I mean, we all need medicine now and then. Of course we do. I've recently had something and I've needed to have a whole load of antibiotics and things, because I had a serious thing going on. And we need that sometimes. But, finding out what the root cause and working from there is so much better than doing it the other way around. So finding the root cause is my passion. The Centre for Disease Control has said that anxiety and depression are the #1 disability, and the World Health Organization say that sleep deprivation is at an epidemic level. And that is my comment about the health food. I mean, we have health food. There's so many health magazines. There's health magazines, there's yoga magazines, there's Pilates magazines, there's meditation magazines, there's well-being things, there's retreats. What's going on? It's because we're not prioritizing our sleep and our well-being in the right way. We're just trying to go for the vitamins and the shortcuts, and shortcuts never really work. You have to do it in a process, which is why I came up with Sleepology from my own experience, because I've obviously experienced insomnia, sleep deprivation for many years. Excuse me, that's some water. And I tried a sleeping pill for my mother, and it made me feel worse the next day. So I just thought, I really don't want to go down that route. And eventually, I was in fitness from the age of 27. I was a fitness instructor, moving through all the way through, massage therapy to aromatherapy, all those therapies, through to Ayurveda and NLP and Chopra, Deepak Chopra training, meditation, yoga teacher trainer, Ayurvedic training. And it's all pointed me to this system where things need to be done in a certain order, starting with the why. Why are you experiencing those issues? And once you know the why, you go, right, okay, these are the tools that I need in order to sort this out. I'm going to need, about this much time. I need to learn how to do that. These are the herbs I need. This is the rituals that I need for my own personal type. And then everything, once you've got that, you go, okay, now we need to start with the nervous system. We need to start with the resilience. We need to build resilience. I'm going to talk about this in the next session. And, really soothe the nervous system. Think of it like electric cables that are frazzled and dry and peeling, and how you see, not that, hopefully you don't see it in your home, but, you often see on films electric wires, and they're, all a bit frazzled and breaking up and dry. That's a bit like the nervous system. It's drying, it's frazzled, it's got no resilience at all. And that's what you've got to build before you build anything else. You won't sleep at all while your nervous system is like that. Often what happens is that we have digestive issues going on as well when you're not sleeping. Has that been anyone's experience? Has anyone got digestive issues? Constipation, acid reflux, any of those things going on with anyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So digestive disturbance is one of the things that often happen. It can go one way or the other, but there's no point in doing that first, because the nervous system disturbs the digestive system. It disturbs the circadian rhythm. It disturbs the microbiome in the gut. And you can't sort that out if you continue to frazzle your nervous system. Therefore, that we have to deal with first. And then we can go, right, now let's look at circadian rhythm. Let's look at, the digestive system. Let's calm the acid, or let's turn the fire up, and let's balance the digestive system so that you can get the energy and the food you need. Because you're either incinerating your food, or you're unable to digest food and get the nourishment out of the food. Therefore, you've got no energy. Therefore, your nerves are frazzled. Therefore, you can't soothe the nerves. It's not getting any nutrition, and the brain's not getting the nutrition or the energy it needs in order for you to sleep well, or just be well. Therefore, we have to do it in that order. Once we've worked that out, we've sorted the digestion out, then we can go, right, now we can put in some more nutrition, because you're able to digest it and you're able to extract the goodness from the food. And at that point, when we've got nervous system a bit calmer, we've got the body, working better, digestion working better, now we can start looking at maybe having an inner connection, looking at meditation, looking at life purpose. There's no point looking at your life purpose when you're feeling so exhausted you can't even think straight. How can you think of life purpose when you feel like that? You want to, but you just don't have the energy to do that. That's why it's all done in that order. So they're all divided into little subcategories. I'm going to cover these in the next session. So in the next session, I'm going to cover the mind. We're going to look at breath. We're going to look at how that affects the vagal tone, the heart rate variability, all that stuff that soothes the nerves. And I'm just flicking through these because I want to get to the sleep types, and I know that we're sort of getting a bit low on time. I'm going to overrun a little bit, if that's all right. And then, in the body section, we look at the circadian rhythm, we look at the digestive fire, as I said, mental, physical, make sure the body's nice and clean, and then we can look at the nourishment for the mind, body and the soul, in that order, and only in that order. It doesn't work the other way around. That's often why people say to me, oh, I can't meditate. Well, you can't meditate if you're frazzled and your brain is so sort of dried out and freaked out. You won't be able to meditate. If your digestion is disturbed, you'll find it very difficult to meditate. Your mind is disturbed. If your gut's disturbed, the mind's disturbed. Ayurveda says health starts in the gut, and it's very true. It's a central part of the human being, and you really need to make sure that you've got the right nourishment, because you are what you eat. Do you remember that? What's her name? That woman. I can't remember what her name was. You did that program. Yeah,
Please.
That's it. Yeah, she was good. She was right. You are what you eat. And that's what the ancient Ayurvedic people used to say. And this is like 3,000 years old, this lineage and this knowledge. So yeah, we can't expect to be healthy if we're running uphill against nature. So let's have a quick look at sleep types. So some of you did the quiz and some of you didn't. Make sure you do the quiz, and then obviously come back to me with questions next time. As I said, don't think too hard about it. It's only an overview. Obviously, if we were working together, we go into an awful lot more detail about that, but it gives you an overview. And I have got those guides, which does give very good tips. And even if you apply some of those tips, you will find it makes a difference. The sleep types coincide to... Does anyone know anything about Ayurveda? Do you ladies know anything about Ayurveda?
Nothing.
A little bit. I am quite interested in it, and I've read a little bit, but I wouldn't say I was knowledgeable. I'm still trying to work it all out.
Yeah, I know. Actually, Ayurveda, whilst it seems quite complicated, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to Ayurveda, to the types, to the digestion, to the tastes, to the pathway of disease, but it's very, very commonsensical. And one of the things that Ayurveda says, the disease pathway as an example. So by the time you've actually got a sleep problem, there's 6 stages of disease. So a sleep problem is about stage 5. You've had little signs along the way that have said, your body said, hang on a minute, you know, I'm feeling a bit, or you might have had a little bit of digestion problem, or you're not feeling that good, or a bit stressed out. All these things are little signs. And in Ayurveda, you have the 6 stages. And by the time, you know, you've actually got full-blown insomnia, that's stage 5. That's why it takes time to kind of unravel. I often say it's a bit like when you tie the mother of all knots in your shoelace and you think, oh my God, how you know, how did I do that? And you can't get it undone in a hurry. You have to sort of look and you go, oh, right, okay. You have to sort of unpick it, you know, slowly and go, oh God, where does that go? And that's a bit like unpicking a sleep issue. You have to slow down and go, right, okay, what size is the lace and how did I do that? And you have to, you know, do the same thing. And Ayurveda is very much like that. Okay, are you someone who's always cold, for example? Do you have a lot of dryness in your body? Therefore, you need to heat the body up and you need to bring more oil in. That's very commonsensical, right? If you've got too much heat in the body, you need to bring some, you know, cooling down into the body. You know, if you've got too much heaviness in the body, you need to compensate with lightness. And that to me is very, very commonsensical. The sleep types coincide with the 3 Ayurvedic types. So a sensitive sleeper is a Vata type. And I'm going to go through the types now quickly. So a sensitive sleeper is a Vata type. Now, I'm a Vata type. So when I'm good, I'm very lively and enthusiastic and I'm really creative. And, you know, when I slept well and I'm feeling well, you know, at my best. You know, Vata people, sensitive sleepers tend to also not be very good at hanging on to heat. They're often cold. They've often got cold hands and feet. You know, they will go to, when they're unbalanced, they'll go to nervousness. They'll go to anxiety. They'll be very forgetful. It will kind of go in one ear and out the other. They talk very quickly. And I don't know if you, I actually make a conscious effort to try to slow down. But my natural way is like gabble, you know, like speak really quickly. And I have to be conscious about speaking a bit slower. But Vatas have a tendency to speak very quickly. And they're the ones that tend to go into insomnia. So a third of the population is predisposed to insomnia. It doesn't mean you've got to put up with it. It means that you've got to recognize that you are a sensitive sleeper, recognize that, you know, you're probably quite likely to get some digestive issues, constipation issues, go to anxiety. You need to keep warm. You're not good at, you know, you move around a lot, Vata sensitive sleepers. They're doing lots of things all at the same time. They're the people that are always busy. They don't sit down for 5 minutes. They're always on the go. But of course, what happens when you're like that? You just get exhausted. You're exhausted, you're frazzled, you get dried out, and, you know, you're either as high as a kite or flat as a pancake. Does that resonate to anyone out there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. A balanced sleeper coincides with the Pitta type. They are the very decisive types. They're bright and cheerful. They've got a lot of energy. They seem to have a lot of confidence. They're always the people who have got courage. You know, they're the ones that do the extreme sports. You know, you wouldn't catch a Vata jumping out of a helicopter on a mountain, but you would get a Pitta jumping out of a helicopter on a mountain. You know, they've got a lot of courage. and they're great leaders. But unfortunately, the downside is that they can be very angry. They can often suffer from a lot of acid in the gut, acid reflux, heartburn. They are often workaholics and they get really focused. You know, they do not stop. And you do not want to be around a pitta when they're not sleeping very well. They are very judgmental, very, very critical. Yeah, they also suffer from sleep issues. More so the sensitive sleeper types, the Vata types, but pittas do as well, because they just get so overheated and so overrun, so into their projects, you know, very, very busy into their projects, and they're not, you know, you just can't seem to kind of like get them to just calm down and just have a day off. They really go for it. And unfortunately, dare I mention it, but Trump, you know, is a very unbalanced, very poor sleeper. So, you know, someone who's, you know, and they've also got quite a lot of red in their skin, usually a lot of red in their skin. Good sleepers don't usually need my help, but good sleepers, you know, well, not but they tend to be, you know, lovely and patient. They're diplomatic and kind. They're the ones that when they're good, they have a lot of stamina. They have, you know, a lot of stamina. They're the ones who can do the sort of like the marathons because they have a lot of energy. They're not the quick sprinters, they're the marathon runners because they have a lot of stamina. But unfortunately, when they're out of balance, they're the ones that sleep too much. They're the ones that say, well, is 11 hours too much to sleep? Yes, if you need to sleep 11 hours, then you're out of balance. You know, that's not that's not good. I mean, that would be like a dream for me to sleep for 11 hours. That would be just incredible. But anyway, but when they're out of balance, you know, they can be stubborn, you know, resentful. They go to depression, and they're very sluggish. And I always like to use an analogy like Vata Pitta Kapha. So think of an airport. You're at an airport, you've got a Vata, a Pitta and a Kapha. You go to the airport, the flight's cancelled. The Vata people will go to complete anxiousness. They'll be rushing to the desk and they'll be anxious, or when's the next flight? You know, they'll be really into anxiety. Pittas will go and they will start shouting at the person on the desk saying, I need to do it, and they'll be really angry and the steam will be coming out of their ears. And the Kaphas will just go and have an ice cream. So you know, that's the different characters. And I often say to people, you should maybe, your potential boyfriend or husband, you should say, well, what's your dosha, baby, before you go into a relationship with them? Because Pittas don't get on terribly well with Kaphas because they don't like to move very much, and Pittas like to move a lot. Vatas don't get on very well not so well with Kaphas because they don't move either. Pittas can be a bit too fiery for Vatas because they're very sensitive. They don't have an outer skin, you know, everything kind of penetrates. So it's very, very interesting. So, you know, I've actually created these sleep types to make it easy and accessible, but they are coinciding with the Ayurvedic types, and I use Ayurvedic system with all the other things, you know, that I've learned over the last 30 years and created this blend and this process. Would you like to fire over some questions? Have you got some questions about any of that?
I have a question.
Okay, go for it.
So you talk about, so I was a 7 and a 6. I am very cold. I have Raynaud's, so I am susceptible to the cold. But I'm going through menopause and I have extreme periods of heat. So how, so I'm not quite sure how I would balance the two. Because I'm
Okay,
freezing,
yeah,
but having a
basically-
massive heat flush, hot flush.
Yeah. So obviously, until if I was going to do an inquiry with you, we would dig a lot deeper. But it can be that you might be vata pitta, so a combination of the two. Maybe one slightly more dominant than the other.
Mm-hmm.
But the pitta types, they do tend to suffer more from hot flushes. But if you're suffering from hot flushes, one of the things that you need to be careful of is, especially in the evening, is actually eating very light and early in the evening, because it's not helpful to eat later in the evening, because that's just going to create more heat. There are herbs that you can try as well for that. There's a herb called shatavari, which is very, very good for the menopausal symptoms, for balancing the female waters and calming down the hot flushes. I'll make a note, I'll put it in the forum, a note of that herb. So you can, you can get it on Amazon. So for hot flushes, one of the things is be careful, hot spices and all that. I still wouldn't recommend raw food, because if you're a combination of vata pitta, sensitive sleeper, variable sleeper, you don't want to, get cold. And if you eat raw food and cooling foods, too many cooling foods, then that's going to affect that. So it's bringing the sort of excess heat down by doing things like eating earlier, lighter in the evening, trying things like shatavari. These are just tips, because obviously, we haven't done any sort of diagnosis type thing, but that's a good tip. And I'll put the herb in the forum, and you can just have a look on Amazon. You can get shatavari anywhere.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any recommendation for a combination of kapha and vata, please?
Kapha and vata. Okay, so how is that manifesting in your sleep, and how is that manifesting? What's happening?
I'm the type who feels cold all the time.
Yes.
And I've got a reaction against the COVID vaccination that I had, as shivers. And in terms of my sleep, I find it quite difficult to actually go to sleep, to actually make myself, yes, this is sleep time, I need to sleep.
Okay. So
my sleep is rather light sleep, because I have lucid dreams, especially towards the earlier hours in the morning.
Okay. Yeah. So when you're a certain type, there's two things that you need to think, or one needs to think about. You're born being a certain constitutional type, and then you have the imbalances. It's called prakriti and vikriti. So what you're born with is one thing, and then what goes out of balance is another thing. So you may be vata kapha. And if you're vata kapha, they are both very cold. Kapha's very cold, vata's very cold. So that's why you're always cold, because, vata is cold and dry, and kapha is cold and heavy. So the coldness is there. But if it sounds like it's more the vata that's gone out of balance, so depending on, having a longer inquiry, but if I was finding that the vata, the sensitive sleeper traits are going out of balance, I would work on grounding. I would maybe do some ashwagandha, more heating spices, herbs, things like that. So on the sensitive sleeper guide, did you download that? Have you downloaded that?
I don't think so. I only did the test.
Okay, we'll download the sensitive sleeper one. You can download both, sensitive sleeper and good sleeper, and on there'll be tips, and on there you'll see the heating tips, making sure you don't eat raw food, you know, give your digestion chance. You know, there are some spices you can add for coldness, but yeah, so grounding and warming yourself up.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Sorry, I missed when you mentioned about the deep sleep. What were the hours that you have your deep sleep?
Deep sleep is mostly in the early hours of the morning, between 11 and 2:30 maybe. It depends what time you go to sleep. If you go to sleep at 10, you know, it could be between 10 and 2 a.m. or 2:30 a.m.
Okay.
Not that you won't get any deep sleep early hours in the morning, but the majority, if you look at your sleep stats, if you're looking at your sleep stats, you'll see that you know, the deeper sleep is in the earlier hours of the morning. I'm going to post.
I do find that
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I find that no matter what time I go to bed, I only ever seem to sleep for 6 hours. So if, you know, if I go to bed at midnight, then I'll wake at 6. If I go at 10, I'll be awake at 4. And it can be really difficult because I'm, you know, it's just at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm thinking, well, I've still got another 2 hours before I need to get up. And then sometimes I try and go back off to sleep, and then I have that grogginess that you talked about because I've gone back off to sleep.
Inertia. Yeah, sleep inertia. Well, your circadian rhythm is off. You know, if you, like you say, you know, when you go to bed at this time or that time, you need to have a regular time, and it will take time for you to get back into a rhythm. It depends on what's gone out of balance. You know, this is just an you know, an overview of how to look at sleep in a different way. But rhythm is fundamental, and it takes time to get your rhythm back. You know, and once you get your rhythm back, it doesn't mean to say that you're never going to have a sleep issue again. You know, if you're a sensitive sleeper, you may well. I do now and then. You know, if I've been upset by something, it can send me off for days, and I have to work at being grounded. I have to work all the sensitive sleeper things, all the tools that I have. And then I do go back into rhythm, and then, you know, 99% of the time or 95% of the time I sleep really well. You know, but things will send you off. But rhythm is the key thing. So not messing about with the times as much as little as possible.
Yeah. I do try and go to bed at the same time. I guess it's kind of like maybe it's the weekends where it might differ, and sometimes I have to be up earlier for work, but I try and stick to it because, I mean, I would say before I started with the menopause, the perimenopause, was I'd never ever had to set an alarm clock because I just would wake up at the same time every morning. I would just go to bed and wake up, and for years and years and years I never needed an alarm clock, and it would be nice to get back to that.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, you know, as you get a bit older, you never get the same quality sleep as you did when you're like in your 40s or your 30s. Melatonin levels start to drop, unfortunately, you know, but, you know, with the right rhythms and the rituals and the nourishment and all that, you know, you can still get very good sleep, and you need still very good sleep. So I'm going to put a document in the forum about, you know, creating some intentions, you know, writing a bit of a journal, about picking a few things from the tips that you can start working on, and put the questions in the forum. You know, I will keep plugging in there and answer them. So, you know, if I haven't answered, it means I haven't seen them, and do the message thing that Stella was talking about. So I do see them, but I will make an effort to go in and check in there for questions. So I'm going to put this document in about creating your intentions. Make sure you do the quiz. And I don't know if you, oh, hang on a second. I don't know if you know about, I mean, I'm sure you know about the law of attraction and all that, but in the ancient wisdom, you know, they talk a lot about planting an intention, you know, so having a good intention. So have an intention to go, well, you know, if I am prepared to make some changes, you know, where would I be if I could improve my sleep? Because change is hard, you know, change is not easy. You know, when you're used to eating certain things, having certain habits, doing certain things, you know, change is not easy. And having an intention to, you know, be focused on, okay, I know I've got to change some things, you know, what things will I do? And if I could get better sleep, you know, where would I be, you know, and what do I need to cultivate in my life? What do I want to cultivate in my life? And for those two things, you know, what do I need to do to remain engaged? You know, make sure you come, make sure you watch the video. You could always re-watch the video, you know, what commitments are you going to make to yourself? So I'm going to put that in the forum. It's a PDF with the questions in, and then just keep the questions coming. Oh, one other thing. On the last session, I wanted to ask you if you girls would be open to do it the Wednesday instead of the Thursday. The reason being is because I'm in Italy at the moment, and I was supposed to be flying over on the 1st to the UK because I have been stuck here for many months, haven't been able to get out. And my flight's been cancelled. So I'm now having to fly on the day before our session, but I'm having to travel down to Rome to get there, and I don't know what the internet, I might be stuck with no internet, and I don't want to let you down. So is it all right for us to do it on the Wednesday evening, the 28th instead of the 29th? So I'll put that in the forum as well.
Yeah, that's fine for me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry about that.
On the Wednesday, I've got 79 commitment.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm unable to do it on the Wednesday because I've got a 79 commitment.
Okay. Are you okay with watching the recording?
I suppose so, yes, yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry about that, but unfortunately, with COVID and everything, it's creates so many problems for everyone. You can't organise anything very easily. Okay, girls. So I hope that was informative and you found that useful. And I will see you in the forum, and I'll see you next week.
Right. Thanks very much. Look forward to the next one.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye.